Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Teddy, and it's April 13th, 2026. I need to check my sound. I need to check the audio in the studio. So give me a thumbs up. I need to go outside, just make sure that there's no echo. All right. I see my moderator, Vicky Black. Good afternoon. Fair use commentary for education, criticism, news reporting, and entertainment purposes only. Please remember to hit the like on your way into the Bear Cave, and you can email me right now at UNWINEWITHTEDDY. We'll throw that one up again. I see Suri WG1FZ. We will wait until maybe a couple more folks come into the bear cave. Hang on. I can see some already in the bushes. Let me just make one quick change. Hang on. All right. And I am going to save this just for 5 minutes as you're coming in. Members, subscribers, only mode. It should be just for 5 minutes, kind of while I'm setting up. Hang on, just doing something else. Need to refresh the screens. Checking everything. Okay. So again, I'm waiting for a refresh. Let's go back. And let me not forget to do this. All right. We got everything set now? I think so. Did we get a thumbs up? Let me go back to the studio. The sound is good. Haven't seen a thumbs up. So let me go back to my studio and just make sure. YouTube, here we go. Good afternoon, LaDonna. Okay, so I have a thumbs up. Follow Unwind with Teddy on all social media. I see Old School saying, I'm listening in the bushes while I'm here at my doctor's visit. Ivy is coming in with a thumbs up. All right, so I think we have enough folks hanging around outside in the bear cave and in the bushes. So, tomorrow at 3 p.m., there is a scheduled hearing. I am not a party in the case. This is in a separate case. I need to make that clear. And when, wait a minute, let me just say this correctly. With less than 23 hours to go, right on cue, another filing appears. A notice, a last minute notice filed this morning, entered this afternoon. What does it say? I can't appear. Now, let's slow this down for a moment because timing matters. This isn't a filing from weeks ago. This isn't something raised early. This is a filing that shows up the day before a hearing, after everything is already set, after the court has already ruled on how this is supposed to proceed, and suddenly participation changes. Not the arguments, no, not the position, the appearance. And according to the filing, the reason is financial hardship, travel burden, and anonymity concerns. But here's where it gets interesting, because this isn't just a notice of inability to appear. It's also a supplemental clarification, which means even while saying I can't show up, the filing continues to argue the case. It incorporates prior arguments, challenges damages, attacks credibility, and tries to limit what the court should consider. So the message becomes I can't be there, but here's everything I want you to consider anyway. Hold on, I need to pause. All right, I had to close my door. You might have heard my dog in the background upstairs. Let me just go back. So the message, as I was saying, becomes this: I can't be there, but here's everything I want you to consider anyway. That's not withdrawal. No, that's participation on paper. And the structure is consistent with what we've seen before. Participation is acceptable, but only under certain conditions. Phone, video, limited exposure. And if those aren't accepted, then decide the case based on what's already been filed. Now, before we talk about what's actually inside this document, because again, this isn't just about appearance. It does four main things. Claims lack of causation and damages. Argues that any alleged harm came from platform enforcement decisions, not the defendant's conduct. Secondly, attacks the consistency of the plaintiff's damages, saying the numbers change, the categories shifted, and the claims don't match the original pleadings. Third, it reframes the plaintiff as a public figure, which raises the bar to actual malice, if I'm not mistaken. Again, this is fair use commentary. I'm reviewing some of this right now. All right. So in real time. So I will say allegedly until I get to reading it. All right. And fourth, it tries to limit the case strictly to the existing record. No new materials or expansion, additional arguments at the hearing. None. No additional. So, what you're looking at is not just a notice. In my opinion, it's a positioning document filed at the last hour, right before a hearing. And the part that matters, this filing says I cannot appear in person, but in the same breath, it says, again, I'm paraphrasing, I'm still available to appear by video. That distinction matters because inability to appear and refusal to appear under certain conditions are not the same. And the court knows the difference. So now let's just step back. Look at the pattern. Requests for limited participation. There was a motion to appear telephonically. If that didn't work, Zoom with the camera off. If that doesn't work, accept what I filed and rule on it. The judge in the case came back the following day and denied that. The defendant came back later, the same day, that night, filed another motion for reconsideration. The court responded later in the afternoon, denied, saying, in essence, you don't dictate how the court is going to carry out the proceeding. You're expected to be physically present. I mentioned 1, 2, 3 times. Each time, what I thought might happen. And in my last video, I said, I think she's going to file again on Monday. I said something is likely to come in today. I said, don't be surprised. I told my audience, nothing will surprise me except she comply, she show up. And I said this is also going to tell us other things, but especially what the number one priority is. It's remaining anonymous at all costs. These are my words. These are my thoughts. And 3 for 3 so far, I've told you how I think this individual thinks based on history and based on patterns. I said it clearly. This isn't random. This is structured. And when you combine that with prior public statements indicating that anonymity affects how someone engages, like rules of engagement, how they respond, and how aggressively they act, you start to see something else. My opinion, my words, my thoughts, again, based on history and pattern. Not 100%, but my commentary. Anonymity isn't just protection, it's leverage. My opinion. So now the question isn't, can they appear? The question seems to be, under what conditions are they willing to participate, and whether those conditions align with the court's process. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., that's what gets tested, not just the arguments, the pattern. So let's talk about this. I want to be respectful, and I ask others who are participating and giving comments, just a reminder, please be respectful in the chat, respectful to others who are making comments, to the moderators. Yeah, your opinion matters as long as it's respectful. Not that your opinion wouldn't matter if it's disrespectful. I just don't want it conveyed in the chat. That's all. Yeah. So just let that sink in. Everything that I've said, everything that we've learned, everything that we've covered over the last few days. We could basically in the broadcast and just say, all right, tomorrow it's going to come and go. And everything that has been, talked about so far as happening next, it has happened. Not because I have a crystal ball, not because anyone else who also thinks or thought the same thing. It's because people see patterns and people know history. And some people on this platform are new, others are not. And I don't know what's going to happen. Let's also make that disclaimer. I don't know the outcome. I haven't followed this one as closely. All the arguments, I haven't read them all. I haven't. In my case, I'm, headed for. Wait a minute. Let me turn my phone down. Just one moment, please. This might be. Just hang on for a quick moment. All right. Where did I leave off? I have now closed my door, turned off my phone, and we're going to try this again. So, where do we go from here? Tomorrow is at 3:00, less than 24 hours from now. 20, yeah, almost 22 hours. The plaintiff is going to show up in the court room. The defendant has given notice that she's not going to be there. Not going to appear. So things will continue. The plaintiff will show up. The judge will be there. That part, I think, is going to happen, barring anything. That's, yeah. Will the court, here's one. Again, I don't have all this prepared. Will the court respond today to that notice? It's 4:15 here. Court's open until 4:30. Yeah. Just a document. But what this defendant was able to do is still try to get it in, if you know what I mean. Her arguments, her points, more. This one, I think, is how many pages is it? It's 8 pages. And very I want to categorize this. Basically went back to the beginning. After these motion, response, reconsideration, response, come right back like a ping pong. I said it. And I said right at the last minute on Monday, I said this a week ago. I said something will come in Monday at the last minute. Okay. I said, I really believe she's going to try right up to the last minute until she can't. Until, it's like asking, but you keep getting a no. And so she kept asking, hoping she would get a yes. And when she came to the conclusion, she says here, I'll tell you how she opened it. Without reading it all verbatim. She, of course, opens it pro se, preserves rights and defenses, said respectfully submits this notice to inform the court that she is unable to appear in person at the scheduled hearing due to financial hardship and the burden of travel, as well as ongoing First Amendment anonymity concerns. While the court, she says, permitted appearance under a pseudonym, such accommodation does not address the financial burden associated with travel and lodging. Oh, let's push pause. Can we just I need to I need to, so I won't say anything. While the court has permitted appearance under a pseudonym, such accommodation does not address the financial burden associated with travel and lodging. So, I want all my boxes checked. All the boxes, you know. So she came to the conclusion that, it's a financial burden. She may have mentioned this before. But the court, the accommodations is just not, it just doesn't work. I can't. Is this what she's saying? I can't empty my pockets. I don't have it's the finances to do it. And it's a burden to travel. And plus, what about the money to lodge? I got to stay somewhere. I can't just fly in the morning and fly out in the afternoon. I'm saying that. Some people do those things. I mean, just look at the news. Some people go to 2 and 3 cities in one day and they don't have a private plane. I'm not talking about, Air Force One or two. No, there are some business people who make 2 trips in a day, 2, 3, So, yeah, they show up for a meeting at 8 o'clock, and then in the afternoon, they're somewhere else. And then by 10 o'clock at night, they're home. So they do it in, 18 hours. They make it happen. So it's not like it can't happen, accommodations. It's not an overnight stay. The judge isn't requiring an appearance on the 15th. It's the 14th at 3 o'clock. But, she responded. So she's saying that it just, it doesn't permit, it doesn't work. Again, I'm just putting it just like that. Everything. It just doesn't work. So she's informing the court. And then she gets into that she requested previously. Let me read it. I want to stay neutral. Defendant previously requested remote participation which was denied, she says. Defendant remains unable to appear in person due to financial hardship and the burden of travel, but remains available to appear via video for the limited purpose of allowing the courts to assess credibility consistent with pseudonymous participation. So, still, again, this is my opinion. The court said, I can go back, dictating, still, she's trying to dictate even that limited appearance that she is proposing now again to the court. She's telling the court that she remains available to appear via video, Zoom, right? For limited purposes of allowing you to assess credibility with pseudonymous participation. So it still goes back to her terms, her control. That's what she wants. That's what she's offering the court. So I said a week ago, she's going to wait to the last minute so that the court would be either in a position to make a last minute decision. Doesn't mean the court's going to change, but put the court in a situation where they would be like to respond to her conditions. Because she's not going to file tomorrow. This is it, okay? If she doesn't get her way, well, I haven't finished reading. I'm just on paragraph 2. And I'm just giving, I think kind of, a little bit of commentary. Not too much speculation. Just kind of saying back what she said, but putting it in my own words, But it's still conditional. It still says to the court, I'm in control. Though we know the court is in control here, she's still saying to the court, I'm in control. Who gon' check me, boo? Look, who gon' check me? Means I'm moving around. Who gon' check me, boo? That's the long term, over the course of more than 5 years, she has had that mantra, who gon' check me, boo? And she's demonstrating, in my opinion, that this means so much to her. This anonymity. I mean, I said if she defies, if she decides, if she doesn't show up, what does that tell the court? I can't thoroughly you know, put an interpretation because every person has their own individualized interpretation. I don't know how the court is going to interpret this. I do know that the court talked about dictating. So maybe I should find that one. Let's see if I can find. This is ECF 61 that I'm looking at. I'll continue, but then, yeah, maybe I should have at least 60 pulled up. And I don't. Hang on. Because this is between the defendant and the court, and I'm just kind of, looking at some of this. So I can't tell you how the court is going to respond. I can tell you what she has said in the past. Let's see. Because I don't want to misquote the court. Okay, let's pull this off and go back. So this was from ECF number 60. It just came in on the 10th. That would have been what, Friday? Yeah, I believe that was Friday. Yes. So in it, I want to go to the part where she talks about dictate. In this paragraph on page 2, the court writes, Robertson has made no such showing. The court, in its discretion, scheduled an in-person hearing on Smith's motion for default judgment, ECF number 52. There is nothing erroneous or even improper about that. Robertson has chosen to represent herself in this manner. She has been defaulted. She does not get to dictate, according to her personal preferences, the manner in which judicial proceedings will be conducted. In fact, no motion has even been filed to allow her to proceed anonymously in this litigation, let alone granted. And she cites C. Dovey Doe, 2020 U.S. District. It was a case in Ohio. Does not get to dictate personal preference. Personal preference, here she's asking again to, a video, limited. The court can assess credibility like that way. This is how I want to participate, she's saying. So this is what she offers. And the court has told her multiple times about preferences. But I said she's just going to come back, because she's going to argue. And she's now given this, reason again about financial burden, hardship, travel, lodging, and anonymity. And the court has addressed all of it at least twice. And she does all of this while not waiving, she says, any arguments, including those raised in her previously filed opposition and supporting exhibits. So I'm just going to read through this introduction. I'm on just page 1. She has 8 pages. I'll finish up this opening and then I think I'll come out. I'll give you the headers. She says a lot. This supplemental filing is necessitated by plaintiff's recent public statements and expressed intent to introduce additional arguments and third party materials at the hearing that were not contained in the pleadings or prior submissions. That's a paragraph. Next, she writes, accordingly, defendant provides the following clarifications to address those developments and to ensure the record accurately reflects the issues properly before the court. Defendant does not intend to re-argue matters previously presented, but submits these, she's calling them clarifications, solely to address plaintiff's recent statements and related developments. Defendant further provides the following clarifications based on the existing record and plaintiff's recent public statements. So this is under the auspices of clarification with the intent not to re-argue. She's very, very good at repeating things, positioning things, bringing things back. And if you don't know what you don't know, then you might miss it, because I've seen this one before. She's very good at it. Allegedly. So then she has these sections that follow for the next 7 pages. I will tell you the section titles. Sections 1 through 3, Incorporation of Prior Arguments, ECF 56. So she does put those out there. In this statement, she says, defendant incorporates by reference the argument set forth in her opposition, ECF number 56, regarding the absence of actionable statements, the non-attribution of third-party content, lack of copyright registration and public nature of the information at issue. These issues are not re-argued here. So, essentially informing the court, here's the argument, here's where it was cited, here it is, reference to. Then she goes into sections 4, lack of causation and failure to establish damages. Okay, so she puts forth a paragraph argument. on lack of, you know, what did she call it? Lack of causation and failure to establish damages. So she argues that for a couple of pages. Yeah, 2 pages. Next, section is 5, limited purpose public figure. Now this one is interesting because I mentioned it in my open because I scanned, and I just saw this title. So I mentioned it. Let me see what this is about. In this section 5, the last sentence here, or before the reference she's making, she says, under these circumstances, plaintiff qualifies at minimum as a limited purpose public figure and must establish malice. And this is taking it to another legal argument that would cause the plaintiff, if true, if the court accepts this argument, that it would begin another response where she would have to show malice. That's why presenting public figure, because that's tied into public figure. And this is one of the arguments, by the way, she made in my case. She said that I'm a public figure and I have to show malice. And that's why I'm familiar with it. Okay. Wow. All right. Her next section, 6. And again, someone I'm sure will read all of this. It's called prior related action and repeated deficiencies. Let me see what this is about. Oh, okay. So in this section, she writes, just part of it. Defendant further notes that plaintiff previously filed a substantially similar action before this court in Smith versus Robertson in a case 2:2024 CV 10 or 10,009. So, which was dismissed, she writes, for failure to establish jurisdiction and legal sufficiency. I've never read that case. I can't speak to that, except it has a document number. I am somewhat familiar with, I believe she filed a case before, but I don't know what happened in that case. But the defendant is bringing it to the surface here. And she ties it to an April 10th admission, she's saying, this past week. Oh. So she's arguing here. She is. She's, while she stated, made reference to ECF 56, she's bringing up, you know, something recent here and tying it in to another case that the plaintiff brought before the court. And she's telling the court here that the plaintiff's April 10th admission confirms that prior action was not pursued on merits. And then she quotes the plaintiff video or wherever she got this from, multiple times, different quotes. Okay. The next section is section 7. This is page 5. Limitation to pleadings and record. Again, I'm just looking at this. Reading it. I've just read the headers. That's pretty much glanced at it. Let's see. So here she states, plaintiff stated intent to introduce additional materials at the hearing further underscores a need to limit consideration. So she's arguing that at this upcoming hearing, she's trying to give the court notice that the plaintiff is going to be introducing new allegations, new materials, theories, she says at the hearing. Oh, so she makes this argument. Not going to read all of it, but she makes it. Long and short, the plaintiff is going to show up at the hearing, my words, with new allegations and new materials so that she should be limited because it wasn't in the original pleading. That's a summary of this. That's all I'm doing. I'm just reading a few highlights and then I give a little bit of a summary. Section 8. She calls it plaintiff's April 10, 2026 statements and related conduct. So in this one, she points to videos. She puts the URL. It's clickable, but I already know about this. As far as procedurally, you have to ask leave to file videos and that, but she files it anyway. She bullets multiple statements and transcript timestamps with statements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she argues this. It's in length. It's at least a page and a quarter. It spills over to it's 2 pages. So I said page and unknown. No, it's 2 pages. So again, she argues for 2 pages. She calls it Plaintiff's April 10th, 26 statements and related conduct. So something that happened uh, Friday. She makes what? What did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With the video and timestamps. And then for each one, she explains or gives her um, argument or you know, about what the plaintiff said. She states it and then gives her um, opinion and argument slash about what the plaintiff said in the video. Let's see. I don't even know. I'm not going to read all any of her arguments, any of her statements from the video. The plaintiff can read her own statements. Okay. Or someone else. I'm not here to defend statements. I didn't listen to the video. So um then she goes into section number 9. It's called Injunctive Relief is Unwarranted. Plaintiff requests for injunctive relief is further undermined, she says, or writes, by her own ongoing conduct. Stating, the record reflects that plaintiff continues to publish and discuss defendant, including through panel-style broadcasts involving third parties who use derogatory language toward defendant. And she argues this whole section. So I just wanted to read that first sentence so you know what this section is about. So she spends at least 3 pages dealing with something from Friday in this notice to tell the court, I'm not showing up. And if you'd like me to show up, here's how I can do it. It's got to be video, got to remain anonymous. My terms limited. I can't do it. So would you think this court would concede? That's what I was trying to make a concession at the last minute. That's what I was trying to think. And then I think the phone rang or something. I don't know. Do you think, and this is a question to my audience, just in general, do you think based on what the court has written in her responses, that this court is going to respond, make a concession at the last moment, allow the defendant to participate by video anonymously to judge her credibility and present these arguments, because these have been documented. They're docketed now. Right now. Make reference, because she's getting it in. She's getting her arguments in. I've told you, this is how she does it. She just does it. Joanne says, let's put up your response since I see it here right at the bottom. No, Teddy, the court has already addressed it. Yeah, at least 2 times. And this would be a third time if she would. But specifically you're saying no to allowing her this concession, allowing her to participate tomorrow to assess her credibility. Change. Say, this, all right, this hearing is set. This hearing is going to take place. I don't think the court is going to reschedule anything at all. So the hearing is going to take place, barring some type of, unforeseen emergency, something, like the court building loses electricity or power or something like that, something natural. Bushes says the court ain't hearing none of that. They will proceed without her. I think so. That's kind of normal. Yeah, I mean, in these cases, this is not the first case. A hearing has been scheduled and a party doesn't show up with this, similar, response. I can't do it. I can't travel, or I last. And again, this is a last minute response. And someone might say, well, it's not last minute. She responded on last Thursday and Friday. This is last minute. And this certainly is last minute. This is the day before the hearing. So it's been, rapid fire, one day, 3 responses, basically a 72-hour business window, not counting the weekend. Going back and forth, making arguments to the court that why she can't show up, why she's trying to defend her First Amendment anonymity argument. The court addressed it already. She addressed it I just read it to you, in ECF 60. She addressed it directly. But this defendant is going to stand on their argument and say, yeah, here's why I can't. So she gives 3 arguments. Money and travel, tied to that. Her anonymity, right? It's a burden. It's time consuming to travel. I can't afford it. If I could, it's too time consuming. I live too far away. And by the way, here's the real reason. This is my opinion. I want to remain anonymous. So even though you granted me, I can use my, pseudonym, that's just not going to satisfy what I'm looking for here. It doesn't, I mean, I'm not stretching it. She says it right here. Financial hardship. Unable to appear in person due to financial hardship and the burden of travel. So I didn't stretch that, but remains available to appear via video. Consistent with, pseudonymous, participation. So I'll use my pseudonym, you know, in a video. That's the best you're gonna get from me tomorrow, if you grant it. I don't think this judge is going to give her a dial in to the court, but I don't know. Let's get to the end of this. It's 5 o'clock. And so far, I think the time is good. Hour 11. Let's see. I touched just briefly on this. Section 9 is called, again, injunctive relief is unwarranted. So she's making arguments here. Let's see what they're about. Yes, she ties them. Here she says, plaintiff's request for injunctive relief is further undermined by her own ongoing conduct. I read that. Okay, let me read this part. The last part before the conclusion. I can do that. So remember, she's talking about this panel. Let me just, I'll just read this last section and then the conclusion. Section 9, injunctive relief is unwarranted. Plaintiff's request for injunctive relief is further undermined by her own ongoing conduct. The record reflects that plaintiff continues to publish and discuss defendant, including through panel-styled broadcasts involving third parties who use derogatory language toward defendant. Plaintiff not only permits but facilitates. I'm reading verbatim from this, okay? And participates in these discussions while simultaneously seeking to hold defendant responsible for similar or related speech. A party, she says, cannot seek injunctive relief based on alleged harm from public commentary while continuing to engage in and promote the same type of conduct. Additionally, to the extent plaintiff relies on third-party statements or conduct to support her claims, such material is not attributable to defendant and cannot form the basis for liability. This is interesting. This is just a side note. This is interesting that she talks about third-party conduct as it relates to her or what they're saying. Yet, a dash line can be drawn to her introduction, in my case, of third parties saying things about her, I didn't support, but she goes above and beyond. This is my own opinion. And right here she says, cannot form the basis for liability. Yeah, third party. All these people you've added, they don't form the basis of my argument. No, but some of those things allegedly she even wrote in a post were sent to the board. Okay, I digress. Now let me go to the conclusion. Oh, let me read this last part before the conclusion. Additionally, to the extent plaintiff relies on third party statements, let me complete it, or conduct to support claims, such material is not attributable to defendant and cannot form the basis for liability. Under these circumstances, plaintiff cannot establish irreparable harm or entitlement to injunctive relief. Let me take Bush's. How notable this argument cannot establish irreparable harm. Someone is arguing irreparable harm in my case. Oh my. Let's go into the conclusion. Let me look it over. By the way, I see that she has changed or has introduced as her address a different email address. I don't recall her putting this on mine's, or this is my first time. I'm familiar with this email. It's Danny Robertson at proton.me. Remember the one that was that the court in both cases allowed service to? I believe it was the Danny Robertson or Danny Montana. Yeah, I think it was the Danny Montana. Don't quote me. 2022 at Gmail, something like that. Because I don't have it in front of me. But here she's using Danny Robertson at proton.me. In her conclusion, let's see what she's saying. So basically, in her conclusion, it would be like her summary argument, last statement. Yeah, that's what she's doing here. Yeah, like the plaintiff, then the defendant. Yeah, her closing argument is here for the court to refer to. That's what basically is here. It's a closing argument. She says, for the foregoing reason and based on the existing record, as well as plaintiff's recent statements, defendant respectfully submits that plaintiff has failed to establish the essential elements of her claims, including identification of any actionable statement, causation, or cognizable damages. And it goes on another paragraph or two. The last statement, she submits that the plaintiff's claim should be evaluated based solely on the pleadings and the properly submitted record, and that any relief not supported by law or competent evidence should be denied. She signs it, she dates it. She's not planning to show up. not in person. Unwind with Teddy, D for Disappearing Act, 23-hour notice. That's what it is. So tomorrow, that's less than a day, less than basically, 16 hours. Will the court respond? Let me take a look here and just see, go to Pacer and see if there's anything more. I don't see anything. 61 is what she filed. So that appears to be the last thing filed today. So no response so far, and I just refreshed it. Yeah. Will something come in the morning? That is so last minute. So it what do I think? I thought this was going to happen. It happened. I don't think the court is going to entertain allowing the defendant to appear by video anonymously with her pseudonym. She wants her to show up. At least that's the court's last filing. Yeah. So now, let's take this down. Yeah. Someone will read it. Someone take a look at all these statements and all this transcript and all of this. Someone will, I'm sure, review it. But that's her 3 arguments, include basically 4. ECF 56, then there was, the 57, a response from the court, 58, a 59 came in, a 60, the court 60, and here she is with the response 61. Let me read your comments. Also, you can email me at unwindwithteddy@gmail.com. Let's see. Again, my apologies for in advance for the couple of interruptions we have. All right, let's go to the top and let's just see what is there. What do you think? Joanne says she's not going to show. Well, she's not going to show. Not physically. And I still have the same question. And I'm going to read, I promise you, I'm going to read your comment. What is another reason that the defendant, now I can say, does not want to or did not want to appear physically in Detroit to the court? I'm not talking about telephonically. I'm not talking about by video, y'all. Why didn't the defendant want to appear in Detroit at the courthouse, the federal courthouse downtown? What's another reason? She has given reasons. What is another reason no one has said it yet? And while you're thinking about that, follow me on all social media. Uh, Shout out to the mob. LaDonna, good afternoon. Old school, good afternoon. Ivy, hello, Teddy and the mob. Sigrid, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Um, LaDonna says, I don't believe the first two reasons, and those were given as financial hardship and the burden of travel. And then ongoing First Amendment anonymity. So the first two, hardship, financial, and burden of the travel. Okay. Joanne, fair use commentary. Wishes she played her getaway song at the end of her last live. I gotta go. You know, listen to the words and the lyrics closely. Listen to the words and the lyrics. I didn't listen to, I didn't know that, but I've heard that track of hers before. It was another time that I made reference to it. So it's interesting that you made this observation. Joanne says she is playing her very last card, only to be trumped again by the judge. I said she would be considering it. I said she would come with something, another pleading, something, and offer the judge. Try to strategize. Try to come up with yeah, she's going to keep asking till right up until the day. That's what I thought. Sigrid says she's really milking it. LaDonna says the only thing that will surprise me is if it's a man. Well, we don't know and we won't know tomorrow now, will we? Hail Mary pass, that's right. Mm. Because, well, she's not going to show up um, even cloaked, with sunglasses or whatever, none of that. But there's a reason. All comments, that is another reason, didn't say that was the reason. I said there is another reason why. Maybe she wouldn't want to show up. All comments and opinions, yes. TikTok, well, yeah, that filing was her way of saying that she will not be there. It's a notice. It's called Notice of Inability. I don't think I read it. Her brief is titled Notice of Inability to Appear and Supplemental Clarification of the Record or of Record. Love 777. Good afternoon. She's running and running and running away. I call it disappearing act. Again, it's on her terms. It conforms to her terms. She's not willing to. No, she said she has the inability. Well, I don't. I know that I have a recording, and she said she has plenty of money. She said she has money coming in, and it's not YouTube money. She said she has money coming in every single week. How about that? How about that? How about that? And who has that recording? I do. Mm. Not my case. But there's something out there. I don't know. Joanne, she could say, "Oh, that was then. That was a year ago when I said that, or when I've spent it all." I don't know. She, she said she talked about her savings. Didn't y'all know that? Oh, Joanne says she won't show up, and that makes her case with Teddy look bad. Hmm. So she has no choice but to play the exact same ghost. I said she would ghost the court a week ago. Ghost. Yeah. And so now, yeah, I'm waiting for a response for the judge. I don't know if she's responded. I haven't checked, or the time I checked, it wasn't there this morning. I haven't checked the close of business. I don't know how the judge in my case is going to rule. I don't know. But it demonstrates consistency across filings that her anonymity is the priority. And she's given so many different reasons for wanting to remain anonymous, with the exception of why she really wants to remain anonymous. And I have it on record. She said, "I can do to you what you can't do to me because I'm anonymous." So that's another reason she wants to remain anonymous. The real reason, I think. I didn't say the reason she can't show up tomorrow, but why she wants to remain anonymous. I have multiple reasons in her own words. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Just like Kaiser Sose at the end of the movie, and she makes reference to it. And just like that. Uh huh. Y'all didn't know that? You have to. Yeah. Joanne says, but she has friends in Detroit that submit her filings. I will say she absolutely has another person here in Detroit, because that other individual, well, yeah, yeah, participated in yeah, another hearing right here in Detroit. Yeah. Could it be she couldn't pay someone to stand in for her? Never know. Hmm. Isn't it funny on some level? Funny, but not funny that she played, this, she said a week in advance of April Fools, she played a prank. She's called it a prank. Her words, not mine. And she said that she was arrested because she didn't show up. She didn't give her information in my case. Remember that? March 24th deadline. She made a video March 23rd. Remember that? Here it is, April the 13th. But last month, March the 23rd, she was playing a video making reference to being arrested because she didn't, failure to show or give her name or address, and they pulled her over and arrested her. And she gave that as the excuse. And then came the next day and said it was, April Fool's come early. It's not funny. None of this is funny. But that she would play that kind of, yeah. I don't know if the court knows about that one. No, I didn't bother. It was YouTube stuff. But you see how she does things amazing. Isn't there a friend in Michigan? There are multiple people here in Michigan that are revengers. They were pointed out in videos, and even highlighted that they live. One said, I live 10 miles from me. Yeah, it was like almost to intimidate me in one of the videos. That's how I saw it. So she puts the person up, their comment, who says, I live less than 10 miles from her. Means that I'm touchable, I'm accessible after my address. So there's somebody here, and that's not the PPO petitioner who was put up on the video. And by the way, there's somebody else. There's somebody west of me, south of me, east of me, on all sides of me. And people have kind of made it a subtle, just enough drop so that I know that they know. So a long way around, yeah, there's people here she knows. But on what level does she know them? Are they just revengers and she's anonymous to them? She's anonymous. So as far as no one to stand in, I don't think somebody would be foolish enough, not here in Michigan, not here in the Detroit area. You mean you'd have a resident of a Detroit? I don't think so. Not foolish enough to step up those stairs to the court, because you got to go up the stairs, and they just refinished the outside, new plaques and everything. Really looks nice. A little bit new marble. Somebody to walk up those stairs like I did, by the way, I'll just say recently. And at the top of the stairs, before you get into the courthouse, is usually standing outside 2 officers. As a matter of fact, there's one on the west corner, I think, and the east. On both the east and the west. This is a federal courthouse. They got federal officers everywhere. Yep. They'll even open the door for you. The last time I showed up. Yep. You'll pull the door open. They have they're heavy doors too. Oh, they're heavy. Yep. They'll walk right up the stairs with you to the next level before you go through the wanding and all that. And there's somebody that's sitting, you know, at the scanner. There's somebody that stands there when you walk up. There's somebody that's standing behind the other guy before you go through. There's somebody that's standing with a wand. How many people did I name already? 4. There's somebody that's sitting when you come through. Like at the intersection of the hallway before the elevators. There's cameras everywhere. There's cameras outside of the courthouse when you walk up the stairs. There's cameras pointing at the parking decks. There's cameras everywhere. On every floor. And after you're wanded and you go through, then you make a right usually. Then on the wall, they have pictures of the most wanted. Oh, yeah. They want you to see that. Most wanted. Nice and big. Oh, that's who you're looking for. And they smile. And they're so pleasant. So, why would somebody in Detroit want to show up and pretend to be somebody else? They got a lot of eyes looking. No. They got a lot of eyes. And they want to see your face. Yes, they have most wanted as soon as you turn right. After you get wanted, and they give you the signal, they give you your code, clothes, your code or whatever. As soon as you turn right and step out, and they got the light on it, You know how you have pictures at home? They got them all nice, framed and everything. Hanging right up there. Most wanted. Because I like, most wanted. Let me step over there and see. Take a look. They even had a woman up there. African American woman, yeah. Most wanted. And I'm sure those pictures change, But I knew my picture wasn't up there because I just smiled for the camera. Yeah, I didn't hide. Not at all. I don't feel nervous walking up to the courthouse at all. Not at all. Oh, what is this? I don't think I don't know. She said she's pretty. And she said she's got stiletto nails and heels. I don't know. And yeah, it's your opinion. But we won't find that out. Not tomorrow. And I really don't care. No. I want accountability, compliance, and, she's a defendant in my case, and we're not going to learn who she is tomorrow. So, nobody is going to put Not at all. I don't think somebody's going to jeopardize their for someone else, risk it, going to jail for it. No. Be a fall guy. Um, I don't know in history, but there might be an instance. I haven't looked it up. I bet I could look it up, and maybe there has been someone who is. Let's see. Since you bring it up, I don't think so. But I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, yeah, it sounds like a movie plot, but a short answer, yes. People have impersonated others in court. They don't get away with it, though. So maybe people have tried it. Yeah, apparently. Oh, let's see. Was something in 1997? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Someone tried to stand in. Yes, they tried to send a stand in, someone to sign filings, someone to respond to questions, and someone to maintain consistency across the record. But it fell apart. And what's important, it says that no judge is going to casually accept a random person appearing without verification. Inconsistencies in identity or evasiveness under questioning. So maybe it's been tried before. Someone, I don't know. Would someone risk it? I don't think so. Not here. Not with all, not with all those cameras. Because they sure are going to see your face when you come through. They're gonna capture your face or some type of image, and that she didn't want physically. Yeah, but she can capture, or take someone's image who's captured and put it everywhere. That's so amazing. Yeah. But no, I don't think anyone is going to put their self out there. Yeah. So we won't know. Who is Skate Love? Good afternoon. You name quite a few, Teddy. Yeah, lots of officers down there, especially, given the environment that we live in and the times that we live in. At federal courts, targets, yeah, they are going to make sure. Yeah. Mhm. And they don't care if you smile and you look cute. They really don't. They want everybody to be checked. Just because you have pearly whites and whatever you think you have. No, that doesn't work with those officers down there. Yeah, they'll be nice, but they're still going to ask you for your ID. They are. Yeah, everybody gets treated the same. They hand you a big gray bucket. You empty your stuff there. You make sure you leave your phone outside, or they put it in a locker. They have little lockers. They do. So you think you're gonna sneak up to the courtroom with a phone? They scan you. They put everything there. Nope. And then they ask you too. They don't just, yeah, they ask you the first, like the first question, do you have your phone with you? It's like one of their first questions. So they make sure they get it verbally. So they get you to confirm that you don't have your phone. So in case you snuck it in, you're not gonna sneak it in by them, because they're gonna see it on the scanner. Maybe someone has been able to, sneak a recording in. I don't know. Yeah, but the the important thing is, honestly and respectfully, there is a plaintiff that is going to make a very important appearance tomorrow and before the court. And she says she's going to be ready. So, yeah. So it's an undertaking, and she's finally at that point, finally gets to appear physically before the court and be heard physically, ask questions, and present evidence, or her case, or whatever the court is looking for, to plead for a motion for default judgment. That's big. It is. It is. I wish her the best. You know, yeah, as a professional, why wouldn't I? Anyone who goes before a judge, I wish them the best. Plaintiff argues her case. Yeah. And I am absolutely certain, I think of this. I better leave myself room. Tomorrow, when she walks out of that hearing, there will be some show of relief, something. I don't know what that is going to be, but there will be something that will, I'm almost certain of it. I'm almost certain of it. Yeah. Because it's been more than a year since she filed. Yeah, she filed in 2024 in August. That's going on what? May. That's a year and 8 months ago. So just based on that, when she walks out of that courthouse, that will be some form of relief. Getting to this point is some form, you know, it's like heightened, getting up to it. But after some form, that's when there will be something that will, I think, that's just me, where you can just exhale, even if it's just for a few minutes. Like, I did this, I presented it, even if not knowing what the full outcome of it is. It's still, you cross that threshold. Yeah. So I think she'll experience that, I think. Yeah. This is my opinion. Busher says she may fear being recorded. She definitely doesn't want her picture to be captured. Not now. Definitely. That could be one of the many reasons why she doesn't want to physically appear. But that wasn't the exact reason that I was thinking of, but that's a very good reason, yeah. Because it echoes her not wanting to turn on, the Zoom camera, and the Zoom camera, wherever that is a substantial distance away, because she used the word substantial, and she's talking about travel here, and she's talking about a burden. So it's significant distance away that she is saying that she cannot travel. It's too last minute, according to her in her other filing. She wasn't given enough time. It's last minute. She didn't have the money. The accommodations just don't address. It doesn't work. She can't pull it off. But she ends with the most important reason, though, to me. It's First Amendment anonymity. It's all about her anonymity. Because if it wasn't about her anonymity, she would have said to the judge, turn the cameras on. It's still about her likeness, her face, her being able to be identified, she thinks, by her features, her face, that someone might recognize it. That's another reason why, like you said, the cameras. Follow Unwind with Teddy on all social media. And boy, it's 2 hours. I'm done. It's almost 6 o'clock. And I've read everyone's comments. And we're at the bottom. Let me go to the mail. Whoa. Well, thank you. Thank you for the Cash App. I appreciate that. Yes. Thank you very much. And okay, I see everyone's comments, and apparently there's some other videos out there. There's people saying hello. And all right. If I come back tonight, maybe we'll talk about the Strait of Hormuz. And yeah. And find out if we are any closer to, well, Trump did, 10 o'clock this morning, block. That's something to talk about. All right. Take care. That's going to do it for me. Biggest bear hugs go out to each of the grizzlies and the honey bears. Please hit the like on your way out. Thanks to my moderators, Baby Juju and Vicky Black, and all of you for joining me this afternoon. But that's it. Yeah. Maybe I'll melt this one down for tomorrow. That said, someone will, I'm sure, read it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Teddy. Yeah, good afternoon.